exposure for teachers and educators has been the inspiration behind Firki webinars. And we at Firki attempt to bring relevant and innovative work at your doorstep. You can go through all the different webinars or learning paths that we've already conducted on the Firki's webinar page. The link to the same will also be pasted in the chat window. This webinar, the participants of this webinar will be joining through two platforms. One is the Zoom, where all the teachers from the JW school have joined here. We also have this live streamed on YouTube. So other participants, also other users will also be watching this webinar from there. I'll take you through some features on Zoom, just to be clear of different features that you can make use of, so that we can have a very interactive and a very fruitful session. So as you know, there is a mic button. We would request all of you to keep yourselves on mute if you are not speaking. This is to ensure that we can hear the speaker very clearly and there is no disturbance at all. Thank you so much, teachers. Also, there is a video button. We would also request you to keep your videos off so that there is minimum disturbance on this call. So also just requesting you to do that. Next, we have the chat window. It's going to be very useful for all the teachers here. If you have any questions or any doubts, please use the chat window to ask your questions or share your doubts. I'll be curating all your questions, and towards the end, we will have around 15 minutes for Q&A, where we will be asking our questions to our speaker here. Another thing that we also wanted to communicate was that at the end of this webinar, whoever participated in this webinar will also be getting a certificate. To do this, you would just need to fill the feedback form. So at the end of the webinar, we'll be sending a feedback form in the chat box. Once you fill that feedback form, you will be getting the certificate of participation. So requesting all the teachers also to do that. Again, very, very happy and excited to see all of you here. I think with that, we can move to the webinar at hand today. It's already like 3 o'clock exactly. Welcome everyone to Firki's webinar on reimagining learning and integration of head, heart, hand, and soul, designed in partnership with Simple Education Foundation. I'm Elizabeth, or you can all call me Ellie, and I work as a senior manager with the Firki team. I'll help you navigate through the webinar today. With that, let's move on to the webinar at hand today. So thank you for taking your time and joining in this discussion. In designing this and other webinars throughout the year, Firki team is hoping that we can disseminate meaningful knowledge and skill that can take us closer to the goal of improving quality of education in Indian classrooms. So in this particular webinar, we will be deep diving into experiences, lessons, and resources that help bring alive interdisciplinary learning in primary or elementary classrooms. So let me just introduce a speaker for today. Chandni, we have Chandni here. Chandni is the Director of Research and Design at Simple Education Foundation. She has graduated with a degree in Business Economics and Public Policy from Kelley School of Business at Indiana University. As a Director of Research and Design at Simple Education Foundation, Chandni leads the design and execution of all program processes and structures. She has played a pivotal role in carving Simple Education Foundation student vision, which serves as the foundational principle for all their programs. She's also a part of the senior leadership team at SEF and guides the strategic direction of the organization. She believes in the power of children to inspire change and lead their own lives to be anything that they choose to be. All they need is a platform to identify their untapped potential. Currently, she is spearheading SEF strategic shifts that have come across due to the COVID-19 pandemic situation. When Chandni is not working, very interesting, she loves to spend time with her dogs. This brings us to the norms of the webinar today. For this webinar, we have certain norms, which if we can keep in mind will be really, really nice. The first one, I think I also mentioned in the beginning, given the large audience that we have today here, we request all of you to keep your video and mic off to reduce the stress on the bandwidth. Unmute it only when if you want to share something or if you want to ask something. Also, you can keep a pen or a pencil handy so that you can take notes. You can also discuss this at the end with your colleagues or other teachers. As I mentioned, you can use a chat box to type any questions that you have, any doubts that you have. I'll be making note of all those questions. Towards the end, we have 15 minutes for Q&A. So we'll be using that time to ask all your questions. This webinar also will be recorded and will be available on YouTube and the FIRCI website very soon. Okay, so that brings me to the end of my introduction. Before we go ahead with the webinar, we are going to start with a very short opening activity. For this, what we need to do is when I say go, you need all of you need to switch on your mic and say hello in your mother tongue. So it can be Vanakkam, Namaste, Namaskaram, it can be anything in your mother tongue. Okay. So when I say go, you need to say unmute and say hello. After 30 seconds, my teammate will all unmute. Okay. So ready, 1, 2, 3, go.
Namaskaram.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Hello.
Namaskaram.
Assalamualaikum.
Namaskar.
Assalamualaikum.
Namaskar.
Namaste.
Saili Didi, namaskar.
Ram Ram.
Joshi sir, namaskar.
Namaskar.
Thank you so much, teacher. So this is always a very, very interesting part of our webinar. We hear multiple voices in different languages and we hear all different words. It just brings a lot of positive energy into this group. Thank you so much for doing this. With that, I'm handing now over to Chandni. Chandni, over to you.
Thank you, Ellie, and thank you everyone for welcoming me with so much energy. Just was so beautiful and lovely to hear your hellos and welcomes. And I hope we can continue this energy as we move forward. The one I have. I know it's been a busy day. It's Friday, the end of the week. It's been maybe tiring for some of us, but we're going to spend some time together. We're going to try to make it as interactive as possible. And please remember, keep chatting in the chat box, keep talking, and keep sharing so that we can make this learning meaningful for all of us. I think the introduction has already been done, so would love to deep dive into the session with all of you. And if Prerna, if you could just pull up the slides for us and we can just begin together and ground ourselves today. So the session for today is an integration of the head, heart, hand, and soul. Many of you have been engaging in some webinars and some seminars, some work from the FIRCI team on interdisciplinary learning, as well as online learning, and what that looks like, especially with the backdrop of the pandemic and COVID-19. What we really are going to deep dive into today is going to be about what does interdisciplinary learning look like? Many of you filled the form that had been sent, and what we're going to be talking about is the problems, the challenges, the things you spoke about, and the support you need when it comes to an interdisciplinary classroom. So we're going to start off again with a small, short activity before we get into our session, so I can get to know you all a little bit better. And this is how I love to start my sessions, with students, with my team members, with everyone, just to check into our emotions today. Just talk about how we're feeling today. So you can use the chat feature. So today I'll share. In the morning, I woke up very, very tired. Quite nervous about this webinar. I'm not used to sharing so much with so many people. So a little nervous, very, very tired in the morning. And excited, nervous, little butterflies in my stomach to start off with today. When I was waking up in the morning, I had a lesson with some students of grade 3 right before our webinar, actually. So I had some grade 3 students and we were doing some paper craft activities together. And I just, from that, I've been feeling very safe and loved. And now I'm nervous, excited, and hoping to be a little bit more confident as I enter the session with you. And I can see all of us are already typing up. So just see the feelings chart, our emotions chart, and check into our emotions today. I see a lot of curiosity, excitement, not a lot of nervousness like me. I might pull up some of you to join me as well today. So a lot of safety and excitement. feeling loved, feeling happy, and curious. Yeah, Padmavati, I can see that maybe we don't know what we're feeling. That happens at times. Like I'm just really unsure, such a mix of emotions. Don't know how I'm feeling. Safe and happy. So a lot of happy, nervous, and excited in the room. Nervous is just me. I'm nervous enough for everybody. Curious, a lot of curiosity. Okay, thank you. I think we're getting a lot of chat messages. Keep that rolling in. And just with this energy that you're typing up these chat messages, let's continue that energy. I want to feel like we're all part of this room together and we can talk to each other, interact with each other, ask a lot of questions. I'll be asking you to share off mute, maybe come and share the screen with me for a little while. And we'll be keeping this chat box very much alive, keeping this curiosity, excitement, and happiness alive through this 1 hour together. I know it's post lunch, so we might be feeling a bit tired as well, but let's keep the energy alive and that spirit of curiosity going for the next 1 hour. Okay, so you're gonna join me for the next 1 hour and keep going. I'm gonna introduce you to the agenda. We can go to the next slide and I'll share a little bit about what we're going to do today. So a lot of you shared about the kind of experiences you've been having in the classroom, the challenges you've been having, and the kind of resources we're looking for. What I saw in the form responses was that we were pretty confident about interdisciplinary learning when it came to combining multiple subject areas. But when it came to the social emotional learning of the child, that's where a lot of the struggle was for many teachers. With the pandemic, it's been very, very difficult for us, our families, and students and their families. So how do we really make learning meaningful and address and acknowledge how children are feeling, make them feel a sense of belonging, make them feel safe and loved and happy, just how we might be feeling in the session today? How can we bring that alive into our classrooms and be facilitators that are aware and integrating the social emotional need of the child in the class? Today, we're going to be exploring some ideas around that. And I'll be sharing a few practices that you can try in your own classroom, some resources and materials that you had all asked for. So that's something we're going to be sharing during our session today. So the first thing we did was checking into our emotions, really getting a sense of how we're feeling. We're going to talk a little bit about why this session, the importance of the session. I'll be sharing a little bit about our team's experiences about integrated learning, interdisciplinary learning, and socio-emotional learning. And we'll do 3 practices today. Some of you will be sharing this space with me. So very simple 3 practices that you can just use in your class tomorrow. And then we're going to have some open space, as Ellie shared, for questions and discussion and just a space for us to come together. Okay? Yeah, so let's move on. And I'll start with a story. Okay, so I wanted to start with a story of what this space has meant for me and what the past 1.5 years have meant for me as an educator. A lot of my team members, I think a couple of them are here today, know that I just love being in school. If you can connect, please write in the chat box about what is your favorite thing to be in school, in the school space, the school building. I loved being in school with the kids as a teacher, as a coach, even when I'm coming and observing. And my favorite time to go to school was the lunch break. Why? One is I love to eat with the children and they bring all this yummy, delicious food in their tiffins, which I love to share with them. Yeah, I definitely love to be with the children on the grounds, the PE period, and just sharing meals with kids, playing with them. And I used to get a lot of exercise in the playground with them as well. And school has always symbolized that for me, that a space of connection, a space of love, a space of nurturing, and how teachers and students can be connected in a really meaningful manner. So in one of our schools, we have a organic farm with the children where we farm together. And that for me was always my happy space. little bit of sunshine in the winter, growing spinach together and harvesting our meals together. And that for me was just a beautiful experience that I cherished the most about being in school. And even right now, when I think about it, it makes me so emotional that I haven't had that space with children for so long. And being able to connect, being able to be with the child, talk, share food, share emotions, do physical work with the child, that's been something that I have missed for more than a year now. And we've been in lockdown at least in Delhi, we've been in lockdown for more than a year. And I haven't seen my children or any of the students in simple schools for a really long time. And then I really thought about this experience and what children needed, and what our life had become. And the next slide, Prema, if you could share, really shows you what our life had become about. Suddenly, from that farm and that playground and sharing tiffins, this is what my day was looking like. Little icons on a screen, and that sense of connection, that sense of safety, that sense of being with the children and connecting had become very, very challenging. And the same thing, emotion that I was feeling, very isolated, very disconnected, not being able to see the children, not being able to interact, not being able to chat with them or spend their lunch breaks with them. I'm sure the children were feeling the same way. And this isolation created a lot of learning gaps for us. The children were not able to understand what is going on in this online classroom. What is man trying to tell us in this tiny little screen? The internet didn't work. They didn't understand what am I trying to teach in like math or English or anything. Our teachers in simple schools were struggling. Our teachers in our rural school in Uttarakhand were struggling. And we were really finding it difficult to cope with what online learning needs to be about, because none of our lessons, English, math, Hindi, anything, it wasn't really seeming to work for the children or leading to any learning. So I had to really step back and think about what is it so important for this year, and what will children need? And I knew that I needed something deeper for children, and the lessons at SEF, at Simple Education Foundation, were really missing something core to what students needed. And if I think about the pandemic and the kind of challenges it's caused for us, this is what I really want to ask you. And this is the question I want you all to respond to in the chat. In this 1 year where we've switched from being in the breaks together, painting together, drawing together, recess, chatting with children in school, talking with them, having a playground with them, to this screen of icons. What do you think in the space of isolation children really need from a teacher? So this is my question to all of you. Please do respond in chat. If you have to think of the core value that children need in this time of isolation during this COVID-19 pandemic, in terms of a value, what do you think that would be? I see empathy. Shilpa, thank you, Shilpa. Shilpa sharing that you would probably need empathy, some new ideas. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of ideas coming in. Thank you. Would love to see more. Compassion. So beautiful, Ramesh. Ramesh said, educating the mind without educating the heart is not an education at all. Completely resonate with that, Ramesh. Positive mind, personal attention, encouragement. Yeah. Strength. Please keep your responses rolling in. It's wonderful to see how much we are aligning in our thought and thinking about what children really need at this time. Possibly the same things we need, what we're missing. I'm sure children are missing the exact same things. Yeah. Thank you. Strong relationships. motivation, just a connection with the teacher. Yeah. And essentially someone to really just understand the emotion. What is the emotion that the child is feeling? So I think all of these answers that you are sharing, very similar kind of reflections I was having. And there are two really core values that we came up with as a team. So Prerna, if you could move to the next slide. So the two core values, and when I was really thinking about how should children be feeling at this moment, I thought of children feeling loved and children feeling safe. Because that is how I had felt with them when I was in school. I had felt safe and I had felt loved. And those were the two core emotions that I really felt that all our children at SEF needed and what our schools needed at this moment. But what we soon realized is what the materials we were sending out wasn't really reflecting that. It wasn't reflecting that value of love and safety that we want for children. We were sending a lot of worksheets of math, a lot of English learning worksheets, a lot of Hindi, a lot of sciences, but we weren't really acknowledging the emotional journey that the child was on. And how do we start thinking about the safety and that emotional support that a child needs, and how does that become a part of our everyday teaching and learning process? So what we did really is we decided to redesign our entire curriculum to think about how the subjects come together and how do we also bring that sense of belonging, that connection, and that safety to children. And the past year for us has just been a journey in understanding and exploring that. How can we make children feel safe? How can we make them feel loved? And how can the teaching and learning process really integrate that experience in? And how can we do this every day in our classrooms? So what I'm going to share with you on the next slide is going to be just our experiences and our journeys with how that's been. And you're going to hear a short video right now about our team exploring and reflecting on a socio-emotional integrated curriculum. So we had done a unit with children on friendship, which integrated math, English, sciences, as well as socio-emotional learning. And what you will see is the school leaders at SCF and the teachers really reflecting on what kind of learning the students have had and sharing some stories of impact. So first, we're just going to hear a little bit about what a socio-emotional curriculum can do for children, how our design changed, what it did for children, and then we will try to do some practices on our own to see how can we try to do the same things as teachers. So in this video, what you're seeing is just our team reflecting on the friendship unit, which we had done, which was completely integrated for this loved and safe feeling for children, where they were exploring friendships with nature, friendships with animals, friendship with themselves, friendship with their peers, because we are so disconnected online. We're not physically there together, but how could we socially be still very, very connected and explore that value of friendship? So you will see teachers talking about friendship as a value and how that's come out in children while learning math and English and sciences. And then we'll just talk a little bit about what made that happen. Okay, so Prerna, you can share the video, and as you're listening to the video, please keep sharing your thoughts on the chat box. Yeah, Prerna, you can start.
A lot of ideas, and even in we have a WhatsApp group for these kids, the fun learning group. She's always inspiring people to do creative things. कि मैंने आज ये बनाया, अगर आपको सीखना है तो मैं अलग से आपको सिखा दूंगी. So things like that, and it was really nice that how she's learning a lot of things from her elder sisters and she wants to pass it on to her friends. And then the kind of material, and it's like a teacher, like, you know, पूरा materials बता देगी कि ये सामान लेके आना है, मगर ये नहीं है तो आप ये भी ला सकते हैं. So it's like, it was really nice. But when Tanya was sharing, I actually thought about another student. Her name is Ritika. So Ritika showed a lot of grit when it came to friendship. So Ritika actually, the classroom dynamics, she doesn't get along like with most of the kids, but she always made an effort. Like, you know, so when we used to be waiting, she used to join in, and वही कि she used to ask them कि आपका दिन कैसा गया, how are you feeling, आपका homework पूरा हो गया, ये वाला नहीं हुआ तो क्यों नहीं हुआ. Okay, like constantly, non-stop. She used to attempt to kind of like, you know, have a nice conversation with her friends who were there. So yeah, Ritika and Sana for me. I will tag Anshu. Anshu, mic off. Mic on करना है.
Okay. So I'll share about Khushi. She's in grade 4. And उसके बारे में मुझे ज़्यादा friendship unit के through ही पता चला. And what I got to know about her is like she's very I'll tell you थोड़ा सा background उसके बारे में भी. उसके मम्मा पापा they are not very educated. वो दोनों ही काम करने के लिए जाते हैं. और शिव grade 3 का student and खुशी वो सारे दिन घर पे रहते हैं, पढ़ते हैं. And Khushi is very good with using Zoom apps. Technologically बहुत ज़्यादा strong, बहुत sound, बहुत quickly उसने चीजें पकड़ ली. And one thing that is struck about her is like she's very open in communicating. Abhi the last week I had Masti ka Pachala ka session planned and she was not very well, मतलब ठीक नहीं थी. So she दीदी मेरे को message आया उसका कि दीदी I won't be able to attend because मेरे को cold हो रहा है. मैंने कहा ओके खुशी that's okay, शिव कैन ज्वाइन, आप उसको असिस्ट कर देना और आप ठीक नहीं हो तो आप मत ज्वाइन करना, कोई बात नहीं. And when I like end up जब start हुआ class, she was the first girl to join that class. So the commitment जो रहता है उसका grit रहता है, that is beautiful to see in that girl. And apart from that, Shiv जो था grade 3 का student, he was not at all active. FL में बिल्कुल उसके responses नहीं आते थे. And I talked to खुशी हम ऐसा क्या कर सकते हैं कि शिव भी response करने लग जाए. Although Ganesh had few visits. और अभी क्या होता है कि खुशी का भी काम properly आ रहा था FL का, and she has made sure कि Shiv also sends her work. So that's a story about खुशी from my side. I tag Prerna.
Okay. I think थोड़ा ये देखने के बाद I realized कि I wish I had been more closely observing the groups, but I think when you shared Chandni, मुझे एक moment याद आया, and this is from one of the performance tasks for grade 3. I'm sure Praveena you remember. And हमने अलग-अलग ये जो activity था अलग-अलग groups में try किया, and we were just we were like कोई story क्यों नहीं बना रहा है साथ में, and ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है. And there was this one group where one child was facing technical difficulties, but जो बाकी तीन हैं, खुशबू, उस्मान and शुभम, yeah, these 3 students were there and सब अपने अपने ideas share कर रहे थे. And eventually what emerged was they made a story together. एक दूसरे के pointers लेके they came up with a story together. And I think that is something that stayed with me, क्योंकि सबके साथ similar activity हुआ था, ऐसा नहीं किसी के लिए कुछ different रहा. But they took on ideas from each other, built on the story. And Usman is a new kid. It's not like उससे पहले कभी मिले हैं ये लोग. But just the way they listened to each other, took their ideas, then added to each other's ideas. And I feel like that is something जो मेरे लिए बहुत एक stand out रहा है, क्योंकि I feel like online space में इतना ज़्यादा collaboration नहीं हो पाया, but with that particular group, even when there was a new student in place, still I think like there was a very beautiful way in which the 3 students came up with a story together. So I think that's something that has stayed.
Okay, so we'd just love to hear on the chat what stood out to you. You heard right now multiple teachers and educators talking about how children have learned and grown, and what are the values. I see a lot of bonding coming out. what are the values, what are things in the stories that they're sharing that are standing out to you, that are connecting with you, that we're trying to see that, okay, this is a value that I would want in my students maybe. So we're seeing a lot of relationships and collaborative learning. Yeah. Anything that's standing out to you as you watch this video? Anything in the reflections that the educators shared? Definitely about relationships. Yeah, we heard a lot of stories about children's relationships with each other, children's relationship with the teacher, how the teacher is observing the child. So what the teachers are really talking about was an integrated learning unit that we did with the children, which was on friendship. After the webinar today, we'll be sharing this resource with you. So all of you have access to that curriculum, that content, all the lesson plans. So all of those lesson plans will be shared with you, and you can take them back and try them in your own classroom. Today, we'll be looking at a few practices that we feel have been very, very important in building these relationships with students. A lot of you shared on your form that the real struggle was, how do we get children to engage, not feel isolated, not feel that they're bored to come in class, not feeling engaged. So these are going to be a couple of practices that we share that will help building the values. So building engagement in students. So those are things that we're going to really work upon and build together. So as you all shared, one of the key features of this content was collaboration. So collaboration was something we worked upon. At SEF, we believe in the education of the head, heart, hand, and soul. Under head, we work on critical thinking and creativity, as well as the foundational learning pieces of the child. So math, literacy, sciences. And heart, we really work with the child upon empathy, grit, curiosity. A lot of you have shared those values today. And today, what you observed right now in this video, we talked about collaboration, that sense of bonding, the relationships. And another important part of our curriculum is the soul, which is our sense of purpose, our well-being, children feeling safe and loved, harmony and self-awareness. So we're going to be doing a couple of practices together that explore how we really made this learning come alive for our students at Simple Education Foundation. Okay, so we're going to start off with a couple of practices. Before we start off, just out of these head, heart, hand, and soul values, we'd love to hear from everyone on the chat, which is the one value that is standing out to you, the one skill, the one disposition that is standing out to you in the head, heart, hand, and soul categories. Yeah, I'm waiting for everyone's responses on chat. Chandrakala, soul. Yeah, soul is something I connect to the most as well. Thank you. A lot of us are talking about the heart and soul being possibly the most important piece right now, which we would like to work on in the child. It's wonderful. Thank you. Heart and soul. Seems we have a clear winner for the heart and soul at the moment, which is great because all of the practices today, luckily, which I'm going to be sharing, is about nurturing the heart and the soul of the child. Very, very evident. One that's like just very clearly connecting to everybody is that value of empathy, grit, curiosity, sense of purpose, well-being, harmony, and awareness that is encapsulated by our heart and soul. So today we're going to try and do some heart and soul practices. And for this, I think some of the teachers had volunteered to share this space with me. We're going to do our first practice together, which is our grounding practice. Grounding practice is something we start every lesson with, every team session with, to come be aware and be into the space. So I think I have a few volunteers who have been brave enough to join me in this space. Prerna, you can stop sharing the screen for now. I think there were some 5 teachers, I think, who had volunteered. Would love for those teachers to put themselves off mute and put their video on so we can engage in grounding practice together.
Yeah, Poonam ma'am also shared those names: Saili ma'am, Rajashri ma'am, Vandana ma'am, Reshma ma'am, and Shilpa ma'am. If you could please switch your video on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So many of us, if some more of us want to volunteer and join, that's wonderful. We can. This is an open space. So as many of us want to join, we can by putting our video on. Okay. So we're going to do a grounding practice with me. This is what I do with our students or our team members or our teachers before every session. Okay. Grounding practice is a practice that helps you become present into the space. You might be tired, you might be nervous like me, you might be stressed, you might have not had a good day, you might be hungry, a lot of different emotions. And grounding is a practice that just helps you calm down, be welcome to the space, and just be connected to your surroundings. Okay, so we're going to try a grounding practice together. If you're ready, you can show me a thumbs up on your screen. Okay, I can see 4 of us are ready to try the grounding practice. Okay, so you have to listen to my instructions and just follow as I'm sharing the instructions with you. So we're going to close our eyes and sit straight with our back straight. And to hear my voice, you breathe in and you breathe out. You can close your eyes, you can just lower your eyes if you're uncomfortable, but right now we're just focusing on our breathing. So breathe in and breathe out. No need to control our breaths, we just breathe. Breathe in and out. Notice how your body is being supported by the chair, how your feet are on the ground. Think about how the earth is supporting your feet, how the floor is supporting your feet, how the chair is supporting your back. And in this moment, just think about how it feels to be supported. As we're breathing and focusing on our breath, let us bring our mind to any sensation that might be happening in our body. Let's scan our body, from our head to our neck, our shoulders, arms, fingers, chest, stomach, legs, toes. As you keep breathing, keep scanning your body and become aware of the sensations in your body. Is there some lightness or some heaviness? any pleasant or unpleasant sensation, just notice it and breathe. Just notice and breathe. We'll slowly bring our attention again to our back. Feel the support of the chair, our feet, and feel the support of the floor. Take a few deep breaths, and whenever you're ready, you can come back to the present moment and join us. See, some of us are still breathing. Anytime you are ready, you can come back to this moment. Okay, I see some smiling faces. The teachers who engaged in this exercise and who are joining with me in grounding, would love for you to come off mute and share just how was this experience for you? What are you feeling right now? Anything you felt in your body? How are you feeling right now? Would like for you to share. Saroja, you are smiling, so we can start with you.
Yes, ma'am. Before doing this meditation, I was feeling very heavy. Means many things were going on in my mind. But as I was doing, I was getting very relaxed and light-weighted, as I am flying in the air like a balloon. Okay. So this way, even in my day-to-day teaching and learning process, I want that children should fly along with me with these feelings only.
Thank you, Saroja. I think some of us were doing this at home as well. So you can share on chat. I think Nisha, Sanju, and Anil have shared on the chat. How did it feel for you? Some of us, I think Shilpa, would you like to share? How was this for you?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. As from the morning, we were busy in our day-to-day lectures. Till 2 o'clock, we were taking the online sessions. Because of that, a little bit, we were feeling tired, and somewhere I was having the pain in my right shoulder. So when you ask us to meditate and you go for one by one body parts, and as I said, to relax and just focus where you are having like stressed or something, and that moment I focused on only on that part, and now it is relaxed, and my body is feeling like light, very light, and now I'm just completely here, very calm and like that. And I would like to share here one thing, as I am practicing this method with my students also, online session even, but I'm not going to like so deep like you told us, focus your body parts, like touch the feet on the ground, feel that. All these things I'm not doing, only for the breathing in, breathing out, and close the eyes, and that's it. But here what the method you shared with us is really workable. Thank you.
Thanks, Shilpa. I think one more person would share off mute. That would be lovely. Vandana, would you like to share, please?
Yes, ma'am, sure. As Shilpa ma'am told from morning our lectures, whether even I was feeling very tired because I was having headache also. But when you have done this meditation, we all have done, I'm feeling very relaxed. And I was only concentrating what you were saying. I was concentrating on that. So I was feeling very relaxed, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
So Reshma and Rajashri, I think you had joined us as well. I just want to hear reflections from, imagine if we started every lesson like this with students. Okay, what do you think would change in your classroom if every lesson, and everyone in the chat box can also share if you would like. How do you think your lessons would change? How would the students feel if we started a grounding practice like this? If we started our lessons with grounding, what do you think the experience of the child would be in your lectures or your classes? Rajesh, Reshma would like to hear from you.
Yeah, ma'am. Good afternoon, good evening. Yeah, I think children will support this activity and they are feeling like how we are feeling, like relaxed mind. They are feeling like that. And they will engage in their studies nicely. They will able to concentrate whatever we are teaching to them. They will grasp whatever we are teaching to them, grasp nicely. Or they can share their views nicely if we will do this ground next practice over there in our classroom. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Reshma.
Yes, ma'am. If I will take this activity in my class, I feel my students will be relaxed, fresh mind. They will sit with fresh mind and they will concentrate on the topic and enjoy the topic. I'm also feeling like fresh now.
I'm glad we're feeling fresh. So I'm going to share a little bit, and over here, as Ali said, you can write notes. Shilpa also talked about this. Sometimes, we do a lot of breathing in our class and we try to do it, but grounding is very, very important. One of the resources you can look at is SEE learning, which is social, emotional, ethical learning, SEE learning, SEE learning. So there's a curriculum around this, and you can look at their resources. How grounding helps us is it helps us stay connected to our surroundings. So sometimes it is very difficult for students to only focus on their breath. Touch and grounding helps us become in our natural state. So we're more connected to the environment and feeling supported by your chair, your feet on the ground. Saying those things is important for children to feel a connection to their surroundings, feeling connected to their earth, to the earth. I think Ashwath has shared the SEE learning link, so you can please go and access that. A lot of beautiful grounding practices are there that you can try out with your students. And what it really helps is for students to get that narration in detail, to understand what are the sensations happening in my body. And when we use that sense of touch, we help children become more aware about their body. So a lot of you talked about the soul piece. We're really interested in the soul piece. So that sense of awareness starts to come alive in the child. So really bringing that sense of awareness. There are 3 ways you can do grounding practice. The first way is focusing on breath. The first way would be focusing on our breath. The second way, which I did with all of you today, was the body scan. We went from head to neck to shoulder, and we scanned our entire body for the sensations. Okay. The third way is engaging our senses. Okay. Engaging our senses, 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can touch, 2 things you can smell, like that. So just helping children gauge their senses. Okay? The first way was focusing on our breath. Second way was body scan. And the third way is the 5 senses. Okay. So quick check on the chat. What are the 3 ways? Everyone is going to write on chat. So I can check that we know the 3 ways of doing grounding in our classroom. So everyone is going to type on chat the 3 ways that you've learned about doing grounding. And Ashwath has shared the link of SEE learning with us. So we could all bring that back as well. Breathing, scanning, senses. See everyone's answers coming in. Okay. Are we ready for the next practice? Ready? Now that we're feeling relaxed, can we go to the next practice?
Yes, ma'am.
Because the next practice is an energy-packed practice. And Prerna is going to share the screen with us again.
No.
Ellie, Prerna. Prerna, could you help me out here?
Yeah, Prerna share the screen. Yeah.
Okay. So the first practice we learned about was grounding. And the second we're going to talk about is storytelling. So one is, how do we really get students calm, relaxed, focused, and into the space, engage their soul. And the second space is just about joy and happiness and sharing stories together, just like I shared a story with you. So Prerna is going to share a short video with us. This is a storytelling session we have with our children. We do a lot of storytelling spaces where children are collaborating, making stories together, chatting about stories. These are done as small group activities. You'll have to break your class down into small groups to do this. But we're going to watch a video right now with a small group activity of how children are building stories together and how the teacher might be facilitating that. So there's a quick video we're going to watch. And again, be very active in the chat box, how you all have been, and keep chatting and sharing what you're noticing about the teacher and the student interaction and the stories. Okay? It's a short video. Go ahead, Priya.
से कैसे आएंगे? आप अभी फोन पे हैं या लैपटॉप पे हैं?
मैम अभी हम फोन पर हैं।
अच्छा, और कोई फोन नहीं है घर में अभी?
मैम नहीं है। कितने मिनट की क्लास? मैम कितने मिनट की है क्लास?
आप 10 मिनट्स और वेट करोगे? बस 10 मिनट्स और, ठीक है?
मैम
4:30 फिनिश कर देंगे, ठीक है? चलिए हम स्टोरी कंटिन्यू रखते हैं। तो आगे और किसको क्या लग रहा है, और क्या कर सकते हैं हम अपने एनिमल्स के साथ?
मैम मैं बताऊं?
यस आलोक।
आपके एनिमल का नाम क्या है?
रितिका 1 सेकंड, आलोक कुछ बात कर रहे हैं ना, हम सुनेंगे। थैंक यू।
मैम मेरा एनिमल पम्पकिन बहुत बोर हो रहा था, बहुत उदास था कि मैं क्या करूं, क्या खेलूं। ऐसे ही चलते रहा कुछ दिनों के लिए। फिर एक दिन कुछ जानवर आए तो उसने कहा मैं आगे नहीं करता।
सना हेल्प करना चाहती है। सना आप ऐड कर सकते हो स्टोरी के ऊपर।
यस मैम, जब वो आलोक के एनिमल को परेशान करते हैं कुछ एनिमल्स, तो फिर ललन का जो एनिमल है एंड वो जब ललन का जो एनिमल है उन एनिमल्स को इलेक्ट्रिक शॉट देता है। वाटर में।
तो उससे आलोक के एनिमल की हेल्प हो जाती है।
यस मैम, एंड फिर वो फ्रेंड्स बन जाते हैं। फिर आलोक का जो एनिमल है वो बोर नहीं होता।
सो नाइस। तो आलोक का एनिमल जो बोर हो रहा था बोर नहीं होता। ओके, बहुत अच्छे इंटरेस्टिंग आइडियाज लग रहे हैं। ललन आपको कुछ शेयर करना है?
Okay, so we can just take a couple of minutes to respond on chat. Anything that you're noticing, what the teacher is doing, all of that. Archana has raised her hand. Archana, please come off mute on your video and you can share what you're thinking, feeling after watching this video. Yeah. Okay.
So that is why they are asking the और कितने minute है मैडम?
Yeah. To be in a hurry for sure, but right now we'll focus on the storytelling part of it as well. I think Sarla wants to share something. Sarla, please do share.
मैडम जब वो बता रहे थे तो टीचर के चेहरे के एक्सप्रेशन उसके अनुसार चेंज हो रहे थे, वो बहुत अच्छा लगा। जैसे एनिमल आया तो उन्होंने एकदम डरावना चेहरा किया, चेहरे के एक्सप्रेशन बहुत अच्छे से उनके चेंज हो रहे थे, वो बहुत अच्छा लगा। यानी हमें बस ऐसे सुनना नहीं है बच्चे जो बोलते, तो उन्हें हमें भी रिस्पांस देना है, अपने चेहरे पर वैसे एक्सप्रेशन लाने हैं ताकि बच्चे भी बहुत अच्छे से एंजॉय करें।
आपको क्या लगता है उससे क्या बदलेगा सरला, अगर हम ऐसे करेंगे तो?
हाँ, बच्चों को लगता है ना कि अरे टीचर मेरी बात बहुत अच्छे से सुन रही है, तो फिर दूसरे बच्चे भी हमारे साथ बात करेंगे, इंटरेक्शन करेंगे।
बिल्कुल, बढ़िया। Thank you, Sarla ji. Shilpa has raised her hand and would like to share. Shilpa, please come off mute and share.
Good evening, ma'am. Actually, there was a connectivity between the students along with the teacher, ma'am. Right? Because the child couldn't connect, so she made another child to connect the story, and the students were exploring themselves and creating their own stories.
Yeah. So when Alok was struggling, that was beautiful, right? That moment, Alok was struggling, and then Sana wanted to help, and she built on the story from Alok. So I really valued that moment and that lesson as well. So I wanted to share that with you. Anybody else wants to come off mute and share anything you noticed in the lesson, anything in that storytelling session that was important? I see a lot of messages on the chat: imagination, connectivity, critical thinking of the child. Yeah, Yasmin, please come off mute and share. Kondur and Yasmin.
Yeah, when child was sharing the story, we can observe the happiness in their faces. They were very happy when they are creating the story, and the teacher also happy to listen that. There was a connectivity, there was a politeness, there was a it's a bond, strong relationship between teachers and students. What we can observe in that.
Thank you.
Students were very attentive to listen each other's point, and that's why they're able to complete the story. Where the first student was struggling to complete that. So listening, because of attentiveness, the listening was good.
Thank you for observing that, Shilpa, that listening was also such an important part of it. It wasn't only about the child story, it was also about listening. I think Kondur wanted to share something.
Ma'am, one more thing. The children can come out with their views by seeing each other.
Yeah.
The children who will be lagging behind to talk in the class, or they will be shy nature, they will come forward to speak by seeing each other, like these activities.
Yeah, in the smaller groups, they're able to see each other, share. In a larger group, that same familiarity sometimes is not there. Yeah. Rupa, Shilpa, Pooja, I think.
Yeah, hi ma'am. This is Shilpa here, Shilpa Desai. Whenever we do this activity, even I try this means many a time, not every day. But I come up with, I can read the minds, because whenever they are like building the stories, somewhere we can get a chance to look into what is happening in their mind, what are they actually feeling.
Yeah.
Because I feel whatever they are like building the character, it is like exactly somewhere some things are connected actually what they are feeling. So it will give exactly what is their state of mind or what the things are going on inside them. So it will give a chance to express themselves. So it's the best idea to get out what students are thinking right now.
And ma'am, one thing I want to share, that girl was saying that that animal should be given shock so that it will not get bored. Means somewhere the child has seen or heard or seen in the movie or in the serial that this type of shock is given, and then the patient become very active. So she correlated with that.
Yeah, maybe she was making connections to her life somewhere.
Yeah.
Rupa's raised her hand.
Yes, madam.
We haven't heard from you.
Thank you so much, madam. Story narration also is a skill, madam. So creative thinking. Okay, children can come up with their ideas also. This is also type of skill, madam. Very effectively, children can narrate the story. We can implement in our classes also. Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much for sharing, Rupa. I think Pooja wanted to share something.
जी मैम, एक्चुअली रूपा मैम बहुत सही कह रही है कि जो स्टोरी टेलिंग है, ये कला है, और मैम बच्चों को इसके अंदर इन्वॉल्व करके बच्चों के थ्रू, यानी बच्चों से ही ये कहानी गंभीरता है, ये जो कंसेप्ट है ये बहुत अच्छा मैम। और मैम इसमें देखिए जो बच्चा है मैम, वो टीचर उसे स्टोरी कंप्लीट करवाने की कोशिश कर रही है, उसको चांस मिला है, बट मैम इसमें टीचर इस एक्टिविटी के थ्रू आई थिंक कि वो उन सारे बच्चों को, जैसे मैम कहते हैं ना आपसी सहयोग की भावना, लेकिन हम जो सना ने बोला, सना ने हेल्प करने के लिए, स्टोरी कंप्लीट करने के लिए पहले तो आगे आई मैम, वो टीचर के थ्रू कि हाँ सना आप हेल्प करना चाहते हैं आप आइए। मैम ये टीचर का ही रहता है कि वो बच्चों को कैसे इन्वॉल्व करें जो एक्टिविटी में साथ में, जैसे मैडम हम लोग ग्रुप एक्टिविटी करवाते हैं सेम। सना ने बोला कि ललन के पास एक ऐसा मतलब एनिमल है जो शौक देगा कि कैसे भी करके सना ललन ये सारे बच्चे मैम ये आपकी क्या बोलते हैं कोलैबोरेशन मैम, ये आपस में टीचर के थ्रू हो रहा है मैम। ये टीचर उन सबको एक प्लेटफॉर्म पर लेके आई है कि वो आपस में ये चीजों ये वैल्यूज उनमें डेवलप। तो ये बहुत अच्छा लगा मुझे मैम कि सना ने बोला कि उसके पास दूसरे बच्चा भी हेल्प करेगा, थ्रू सना ललन भी इन्वॉल्व हो चुका है और फर्स्ट वाले बच्चे की हेल्प करने के लिए।
बिल्कुल, आलोक फंस गया था,
वो
सना
फंस
ने
गया
हेल्प किया लेकिन ललन के एनिमल को यूज करके। तो इतने सारे कनेक्शंस बन रहे थे क्लास में कि बच्चे एक दूसरे की बात सुन रहे हैं, एक दूसरे की मदद कर रहे हैं और बाकी बच्चे को भी इन्वॉल्व कर रहे हैं, और टीचर ने बस बच्चों को सपोर्ट किया।
बिल्कुल बहुत अच्छी लगी मुझे, एक ही मतलब एक्टिविटी के थ्रू टीचर्स ने उनको सेम प्लेटफॉर्म पे लेके उनको ऑफिस में कैसे हेल्प करने के लिए सिर्फ एनकरेज कर रही है मैम, वो उनको मतलब फोर्स नहीं कर रही है, मतलब एक उनको प्लेटफॉर्म दिया है, वो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा।
एक साथ आने का एक प्लेटफॉर्म दिया है। थैंक यू सो मच। यास्मीन आप कुछ बोलना चाहेंगे? आई थिंक लास्ट, बिकॉज वी हैव वन मोर प्रैक्टिस, आई एम वेरी excited that all of us are so excited, but we have one more practice, so we'll share that and there'll be a lot of time for Q&A. Think so one more practice. I think Prerna, you can share the screen again. We'll talk a little bit about storytelling and the last practice. Okay. तो जो भी हमने बात करी, a lot of us have shared that this is what we really saw coming out. Definitely the collaboration comes out for the child, the critical thinking, the creativity, and all of you very beautifully pointed out that sense of belonging and connection to the teacher, to the other students in the classroom is very, very clear. So that heart and soul piece of being very aware, listening, being close to each other, connected to each other, that is also standing out with storytelling in the classroom. Now, I know a lot of us have challenges in our classroom. We might have to teach 40 students at a time. So storytelling might not be able to happen with 40 students, but we do small batches. I put down some quick tips for you as teachers. Storytelling as a practice should only be done between 4 to 7 students. Now, sometimes we have a 1 hour lecture. What I would suggest is then do breakout rooms where the teacher is only focusing in one room at a time, and 10 minutes in each room. So 10-15 minutes for each child, so that you're able to make different groups in your classroom, and that small group focus can be given. In a classroom of 40 or 50 students, it can definitely be very challenging. So how do we make storytelling happen in small groups, short doses of 10-15 minutes, where children still get to practice collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity? Yeah, definitely giving students that platform. I think one of us shared that the students were giving, the teacher was just giving that platform, and students were already picking out details in each other's stories and trying to help each other. So how are you as a teacher just stepping back, listening, and only encouraging? Not forcing, but letting the child develop the story on their own. That's going to be very, very important. So this is one skill that I hope you all try in your classrooms next week, is this storytelling practice, which can build so much belonging and a sense of connection for the child. I saw some of the people also writing that vocabulary improvement can also happen, that confidence to speak happens. There's no hesitation, the imagination, there's no boundaries, anything is possible. They're making connections, social skills are improving. Exactly, that's really what we want to. I think somebody's raised their hand. Yes, please go ahead and share.
Yeah, ma'am, this is Ramanjanelu. Madam, how frequently we can do these practices in our plenary?
I would recommend once a week. Once a week is a good time.
Okay.
To do this with children, just because it's a routine and a rhythm is there, and they look forward to it. Also, by the end of the week, sometimes in the middle of the week, kids are tired. Whenever you feel like children need an energy boost, once a week is a good time to keep this practice regular. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a lot of questions towards the end now. We're just going to go to the last practice quickly and then open up to Q&A. Yeah. The last practice is checking into our emotions. Prerna, if you could go to the next slide. This is a practice we started with today. Why I did this practice was just, I wanted to get a sense of how we all were feeling. We were feeling curious. Usually I close my classroom with this. Just, it's a great way for the teacher to get feedback. So you all remember this, correct? That we showed this on the screen the first thing when we entered the session today. And I asked you how you all were feeling. Students get some vocabulary words. And at the end of every lesson, I show this to the children or my team members to just understand how are they feeling after the session. Is someone still feeling like, I don't know, or sad or tired? Maybe I need to support that child more. How many children are feeling excited? How many children are feeling safe? It gives a good check to the teacher. It also works as feedback for the teacher that how are children feeling, and getting an emotional kind of temperature check for the children in the classroom. So we already practiced this. I'm not going to get into this today. The only thing I would recommend is definitely doing this at the end of every single lesson, is getting some kind of feedback of how children are feeling after the lesson. Or you can start your lessons with this. Sometimes I start my lesson and end with this. So quickly, right now, we can end with this because I want to get a check on how all of us are feeling at the end of our practices. We tried 3 practices today. The first one was grounding. The second one was storytelling. And the third one we actually started with and we're ending with right now, which is check on our emotions. Emotions check, how are we feeling at the end of the lesson. I was also able to share my story with you about the pandemic and some of the reflections that our teachers had about the friendship unit. After the Q&A, we'll be sharing all these resources with you, all these lesson plans. Everything is open source, so you can access all of these. And I'll be sharing the email you can reach me at as well if you need any other support. So I see a lot of confidence coming in now that wasn't there earlier. So there was curiosity and now we see confidence, which hopefully means that we have learned some new skills and are confident to try them out in the classroom. So Chitra, you're feeling loved. That's so nice. And so now my nervousness has gone down because of all of your confidence. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you. A lot of gratitude to all of you for giving me the opportunity to work with you on your curiosity and transform that into confidence together. And right now, I think, Prerna, we can go to the next slide where we just open up this space for questions, anything you want to ask. Yeah, so we'll just hold some open space right now. I can see a lot of chat messages flowing in.
If you have any questions, you can type it in the chat box or even raise your hands and then ask directly.
Okay. I think Shilpa has raised her hand. Shilpa, please go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am, here my question is actually, I think it's genuine. As you said, one of the person here was asked a question, how frequently we can conduct this. So you replied, once in a week, we can do it. Or with this, once in a week for the storytelling, right? As I'm a math teacher, so during the class, it is not possible for me to conduct storytelling until and unless I will be having on the story problems and that kind of things. But as you said, as separately we can conduct the classes like this with the small groups. But here the problem is right now in the morning also one of the parent had a conversation with me, and yesterday also
So that parent was saying, ma'am, how much time we allow our child to sit in front of the screen? That is again the problem for them. So that big challenge is coming up with us. And another thing, key as a breakout rooms. So as a, if we are going to conduct this kind of activities during the like a break with the very breakout rooms with the strength of 30 and 35 students. So in that case, it is very like challenging for us to reach to every group. That is the big challenge for us.
Yes, I completely resonate with that, Shilpa. Thank you so much for raising this question. There are a couple of solutions around that. One is you can actually do a story building on WhatsApp group through voice notes. I understand that parents have a challenge with screen time. So what we do is we do story starters. So we do with like, okay, I'm starting a story and then another child sends a voice note. So it's not so much on a screen, but they send a voice note or an audio note later. So you keep a WhatsApp group culture alive. Also, if in mathematics, there are different ways of building stories. So even if you're not teaching word problems, like a story about measurement, maybe you can start your lesson with a story about measurement, and you can just tell children a story if they're not story building with each other. But how do you start your lessons with a story? For example, even today I started with a story about how I was facing a challenge and my emotional state was not good. So how can you maybe build stories into your classrooms in other ways? So I might have a story problem around measurement, or I went and this was a problem I was having, or about patterns, or any other conceptual domain problem you might be having. That might be a way you can introduce. I understand definitely that the breakout rooms are challenging. What it does require is a little bit of practice and a little bit of trust. So there might be one lesson where you might just only be able to reach 3 breakout rooms. We trust that the other rooms have done their story together. So we pair the children accordingly, and we trust that the other teams have made their story. And what you can do at the end is usually ask the teams to present the story, so you know that the children have worked. So I usually save 30 minutes for doing the stories, and then we have 15 minutes of story sharing where every group comes and tells their story. So that way, you know, as a teacher also, that children have actually engaged in their activity without having to jump into every room. So I understand that. Little bit of trying it out, practicing, innovating. Answer, definitely try it on WhatsApp audio notes. Try opening with stories. And it's okay, do a presentation, do fewer breakout rooms, but definitely try it. Only then you know if it works or doesn't work. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Surely I'll try it.
Yeah. I think, are there any more questions? Ellie, if you could help me out here.
Yeah, we have some questions from actually the YouTube chat also.
Sure.
How did subjects get integrated in these exercises? So these are slightly maybe separate, but how can we somehow connect it to our subjects?
Yeah, so what I'm not actually going to get it too deep into that, because that would be very much into design. The resources that we're going to share after this, you'll actually have lesson plans where you can see how it's integrated into subjects. I can share a quick example. So for example, in EVS or the sciences, children have to learn about plants and animals and different things. So they have to learn about different kind of leaves, roots, stems, parts of a plant in primary school. So we talked about how do you become friends with a plant? How do you explore a plant? How do you observe a plant? So those skills we have been able to integrate, looking at critical thinking or observation skills, or really thinking about the plant as our friend and how do we make a story about the plant, those kind of things. I didn't really talk about the academic integration today because the need for the teachers in the forum was about socio-emotional learning. But once we share the toolkit right after this, you'll be able to access the lesson plans, all the content, where possibly you could make the connections of how math, how literacy, and how the sciences are getting integrated into the lessons we're working with the children on. I hope that would help.
Makes sense. Yeah, that's clear. Maybe I think we have time for last one more question. Is of our team. So if anybody has any other question, I think dear teachers, you can either raise your hands or type it in the chat box.
Yeah, I have entered my question in the chat box, ma'am.
Yeah.
The question is that there are few children who will never open up. What can be done to such sort of children?
Actually, I disagree with this because I've never experienced a child who will never open up. I have experienced children who hesitate a lot to open up. They require a lot of time, a lot of patience. But what I've seen that works for children who are very shy or introverted, and I'll share that I was a child like that as well when I was younger and in school. I think a lot of one-on-one connection or trying to build relationships with the family is going to be very, very important to understand the child and just give that child the safety. It just takes time and very little pressure. Any child will share in small groups when they feel safe. Large groups, as I told you today, even I was feeling very, very nervous. But in small groups, if a child is just given space and a lot of patience, usually we see that it definitely takes time, but the child does open up slowly and steadily. If nothing seems to be working, I would definitely say the relationship with the parent and the family, and how could you as a teacher just spend more time with that child, play individual games. Sometimes I do like video calls with children and just ask them about the TV show they're watching lately. Yeah, just to build that personal relationship with the child.
Thank you, ma'am. So nice to hear.
Thank you so much, teachers. I think Chandni is also 4:60. We can maybe close out right now. At this point, I would also really like to thank you for being generous with your time and expertise. And right now, I would also request you to share maybe your thoughts on this webinar. How was it for you? How did you feel?
I've just really enjoyed the space. I think from that feeling of nervousness, I think I'm feeling loved and safe. So that's a good space to be. And I was very nervous that maybe you wouldn't interact as much, but it was so nice to see all the teachers engaging and reaching out and sharing. Ellie, just one request. I had done the last slide with the email ID you can reach me at, as well as the link to the toolkit. So please do share that before we close.
Yeah.
Because generally I'm feeling, just a lot of gratitude for all of you having me in this space. So thank you. And I would really love to work with all the teachers again. It's been really nice to work with a passionate group of teachers who are so dedicated to their students. And I'm completely confident in all of you that just seeing the level of dedication you have, that the students are in safe hands and they'll have warm and loving teachers for the rest of the year as well. So
thank you so much, Chandni. Dear teachers, Prerna has also shared all the curriculum and content from SCF in the chat box. Also, if you want to reach out to this Simple Education Foundation team, you can also reach out to them at design@simpleeducationfoundation.org. All of this information is there on the chat box. You can take a look at it, make a note of this. Also, before you leave, please take a minute to give us feedback on your learning experience on this webinar today. This can help us grow and improve our resources for you. So once you fill this feedback form, you will be receiving the attendance certificate on your registered email ID. So the feedback form is also shared in the chat box. We would really request all of you to please spend 2 minutes to give feedback for us. So thank you so much, everyone. I think that's just coming towards an end for this webinar. We really hope all of you have a great evening today.